Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ubuntu Testing Days. Today we are doing this a little earlier, so hopefully we have some new people watching from Europe and other time zones. Today we will be talking about GNOME and some of the nice things that are coming for the October release on Ubuntu, which will be more GNOME focused. So welcome everybody, and I'm Leo Arias. I'm a QA engineer on Ubuntu. Let's see who's here with me. Sergio, why don't you start introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Sergio. I've been off for a while, but I'm back now to this event, Hangout. I lead the Snapcraft team, and that's about it. Want to go, Christian?
See?
Yep. So I'm Christian Dugan. I'm also working on the Snapcraft team, working on cross-compiling at the moment and container-related bits.
And our guest today is Marco from the desktop team. Hello, Marco.
Hello. So yeah, Marco, I work for the desktop team, and I've been involved in Unity in the past, and now since the switch out to GNOME, I'm mostly working on the GNOME desktop so far, and focusing on better support for IDPI displays, and so supporting multiple devices with different scaling and fractional scaling, which wasn't present in GNOME so far.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And for people watching on ubuntuonair.com, there's a box under the video where you can ask your questions. And if you want to know something about the work that Marco and his team are doing, you can ask there, and we will send the question to Marco as he's speaking. The idea of this space is just to have a relaxed chat about an interesting project that's in progress, and the developers will tell us what they are doing and how we can contribute. So if you are bored this weekend and want to start something new, you can contribute to a free software project. And in addition to GNOME, there are some other different projects that have calls for testing in progress. You can also help there. Sergio, can you tell us what's open for this weekend?
Yeah, there are around 5. 4 of these are on our Snapcraft forum, which you can go find at forum.snapcraft.io, and you'll see all our conversations there happening in the open. Among them, there are calls for testing for snaps that have been recently released to some of the channels which are not stable and want to make their way to stable to get to all their users. One of them is Hiri, which is an Outlook integration email client thing. There's Vault, which is for secure things you want. I'm not going to go into details on each. IPFS, and MAS, which is the machine as a service tool. And aside from that, there's a fridge post you can look into, which has a call for testing for the Alpha 1 release of Ubuntu for the flavors that have subscribed to it. So that would be Ubuntu, Kubuntu, and Chillin. And I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Sergio. We will send a link about this on the Ubuntu testing Twitter account. So keep an eye there. And as Sergio said, you can join the forum and contribute, or if you are a little lost, you can talk to us in rocket.ubuntu.com and we will give you a hand getting started. But let's get to GNOME. Marco has a couple of interesting things to show us. So back to you, Marco. I can't hear you. No.
Is it going? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry. So the main thing we mostly did, actually, I have to say that this work has been mostly started from another GNOME guys, Jonas Udal, which has been working on this before Ubuntu decided to move to GNOME, because it's a long journey to get where we are going. Basically, so far, GNOME had the ability to scale by integer numbers, and as GTK does. So all the interface can just scale by 1, by 2, by 3, and so on. What was the infrastructure was done like this for various reasons. So far, it's impossible to change all the GTK word to speak in fractional values. So this thing won't change. So from the application point of view, everything will still continue to work scaling by integers. What instead will change is the way we mix things and we compose them in the screen. So for example, for doing this, my main work has been happening in Matter, which is the compositor used by GNOME, which instead of doing what has been done so far, so just painting what was passed from the toolkits, it can now talk to toolkits and say to them, okay, this is I'm scaling all the frame buffer up and down. So you need to scale up or down to present accordingly. And what we change, we created basically a different way of handling the screens in Matter. So now there are no more physical size of screens, but like a logical size, which depends on the scaling which is applied to the monitor itself. So the new logical size of a screen is depending on the actual resolution multiplied by the scaling levels that have been chosen. So all this work allows basically to paint on different frame buffers on different screens using different scaling values, without having problems when they are in the same environment. This because it allows to have different scaling in each frame buffer. So this is a very technical maybe, but just to give an idea what has been done. In terms of what it looks now, I think we can let's try to show up what are here. So we go to USB camera. Okay, should work. I hope you'll see things. Unfortunately, this is not the best setup you can have, but what we have, it's okay. What we have here, this is an ATPI laptop. Now it's all blue, you don't see much, but you can see it's not scaled right now. So if I open like an application or for example, this is Nautilus, you can see it's very tiny compared to the screen. So this is this is a normal Full HD screen, external display, and this external display is just a scale of 1. So as you can see, the application here paint normally the size is fine for being reading. This is a normal scenario. So you see that now we're crossing the same application in 2 different models with different scaling. This is what we had so far. Basically, the situation where that was not usable. What we did now, you can basically see GNOME Control Center where you have options per display. So this is for an example. Now I'm scaling the primary monitor, which is the laptop monitor by 2. I can scale by different values. As you can see from this in this slider, there are multiple levels. So you can slide. Now there are basically we are choosing 8 integers per 8 fractional values per integer as we did in Unity, but this might change. This is probably something like a beta thing, which is gonna be changed. But so because for example things like scaling by 4, it's mostly related for accessibility. But for example, let's scale this by 2, just to go simple. And in this situation, after the blink, you will see that both the displays will show apps and native resolutions. And this is an application, for example, which is in this case we're going to be across 2 displays. And as you can see, it will paint normally. And in both displays, it will have the proper size. Same is for example, now tools that's more visible here, maybe. So things will just work and will be painted at their native resolution in the screen. So not only, as you can see now, this is scaled by 2. It might be tiny for somebody, it might be too big. So 3 might be too much. So what we can do, for example, here is define multiple different scaling values. So we scale, by example, by 2.64. And okay, no, let me find. Where is it? Okay, 2.5. And again, we have now everything is called upper on the external screen, so in the embedded screen, so it's kind of bigger, but it keeps the scaling at 1 in the other. And everything will work just, without doing much else.
That's very cool.
You saw the things properly. I don't know if my camera ability has been enough for this, but
yeah, your explanation was clear to me, and the camera setup has been interesting. You did most of this work in a sprint a few weeks ago, right?
Well, yeah. As I said, unfortunately, all this work depended also on lots of plumbing work. So, for example, all the configuration has been recreated using different ways of configuring things. All this stuff has been done by grown guy before this, because it's a huge change. So apart from the configuration stuff, we also did during the sprint. We did lots of things. We went through supporting all these, for example, the control center stuff, or other things like since we had 4K monitors there, we had hardware to test things in the proper way. We used those, and we did everything we could to test in all the environments we did at home. And so yeah, and for example, we found lots of glitches when it was about to scale up to 3, or there were problems when related to the fact that when an application is scaled by integer values, it's not guaranteed that this application is like painted in subpixels by the composer. So some and in this case there are events which has to be handled, and so there are some limits on this implementation which has to be addressed. And other things we did were, for example, creating all the support for generating an algorithm for being smart in defining the scaling level. For that, for example, there was a call for participating in giving us information about the good scaling values for sizes, because we don't know what are the best preferences for people. So there is a wiki which I'm linking now. Let me find it. So in this wiki, there is you can post fractional scaling levels to use depending on the size on the screen. And so where is it? Ubuntu area.
Okay, you are pasting it on the IRC chat. I will copy it to the video description for people watching after we finish the call. So is this, if I download the daily of Artful, is this already on the distro?
No, this is there's not some limitation of these so far. For example, the fact that it works only on Wayland. This is because all the thing you saw depends on mostly on input on input redirection and compositing the right way, which X can handle. There are some workarounds we might use, but so far we are focusing on those things in this environment. So in Way language, because it's going to be default soon. So this is our main target right now, but we probably in terms of testing this, there is I'm posting another document which we wrote during the event. So it was a work in progress log we did, and there are some GH build configurations and settings you can use for building these. Basically, with all this work is on GitHub and various branches, which are defined in that GH build. By cloning that GH build, you can install this version of GNOME using this stuff, and it will just work. We work after you. I don't know if I put on the wiki, but I can fix it now. You need to change setting. So I just settings to enable these, because so far this is an experimental feature, and there is an experimental feature flag on Matter which needs to be tackled in order to get this done. But apart from this, I mean, the installation is still kind of straightforward, apart from waiting a few hours of compilation, because you also need to compile some part of X, since this depends on X Wayland and everything. But yeah,
sounds very nice for testing. Like, lots of potential for breaking things here and helping the devs making a more stable release. We now have a question here. Can we start talking about the things that will go into Ubuntu, the official Artful release?
Yeah.
The question here is from Dragos Christe. Will GNOME for Ubuntu keep the default ambience theme, or will it have a new theme?
Now, for now, we're keeping the theme. Actually, we did lots of fixes on there. Actually, this is another thing you need to test, and if you want to hack properly, because ambience is an ambient to hack in some way. I mean, we want to keep it, the Ubuntu appearance what it was, or I mean, to give the first look of the desktop to still be Ubuntu. So we want to keep our theme, but we want to shape it. So some work I've been doing at the beginning of the cycle was related to the theme, and for that work I mostly made it working well with GNOME, but still there are many things. For example, last day I noticed in Nautilus, when you delete a file, you ask for confirmation, and there's a red button there which is not properly themed. So there are some cases which we don't handle, and needs to be fixed. Also, so in this case, people can really easily help, because it's just CSS. You have to copy it in your home folder and use that theme, the local theme instead of the default one, and just edit the CSS. And you can do it also live on GNOME applications if you just run the application with a debug flag, which is GTK debug interactive equals it interactive, or you enable a settings key and you can just use Ctrl-Alt-D. An app inspector will fire up. There are all these shortcuts and things that are well documented into the GNOME wiki. But if you basically run those apps in that way, you can operate this inspector, which works sort of like the browser inspectors. You can inject some CSS on it and test things live. So it's very easy to work on these, and also it doesn't require very hard development setup. It just really needs to work on it. And with the big amount of people working on the web now, I think we can have also help from the community, which I would love to have. So we are very open even to suggestions and changes of look, still keeping the ambience look right so far. So if you want, I mean, we can you can still modernize it. There might be some plans for changing it in the future, but not for this release, because we are,
Great.
stuck at work, and there are many things which need to be covered since the big change, and it is important. So far, we want to keep it working what we have. In terms of, if you want to check other plans for the desktop team, we have open Trello board, which everybody can read and can really can join. Once you're there, you can read everything in progress, and you can follow up with what's happening. So,
okay, and
I just linked on IRC.
If somebody wants to participate, do you usually hang in IRC or some chat?
Yeah. I'm kind of silent unless I don't get pinged, but I'm always on Ubuntu desktop on Freenode.
So like for 17.10, is GNOME going to be the default for the Ubuntu image you download from the website?
Actually, it's already default since a couple of weeks, actually, a little bit more. So yeah, it's already default, and now there's people like Didier, for example, is working on all the integration for migrating settings, everything. But if you already install a new daily build, you get Ubuntu desktop to be GNOME. You can keep Unity running still, but it's not default.
What about people who are eager to update? Say I'm on Ubuntu GNOME on Zesty right now. If I do a release upgrade, what will I get?
You have Ubuntu GNOME, so no Ubuntu Unity, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm on Ubuntu GNOME. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. In that case, we still think to talk to the Ubuntu GNOME guys, because the thing is that Ubuntu GNOME wants to ship GNOME without normal with for example the Adwaita, so
Vanilla
team, and
Vanilla.
we share the same code. I mean, it just that
yes.
I don't know if we will migrate those users to Ubuntu, since it's still a different flavor, and they.
But if I'm on Unity on Zesty and I do a release upgrade, what happens then?
In Unity instead, you can migrate it. Well, it depends. The fact that if you are, there are not different sessions. So the normal the sessions was not Unity, but was Ubuntu desktop, right? So if you're Ubuntu desktop, you just move to, you get migrated to GNOME.
So the recommendation, I guess, for people wanting to start out testing is to actually grab the latest daily ISO and install from there?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The daily ISO has everything already set up, and yeah.
And a really nice thing I discovered recently is that on tutorials.ubuntu.com, we now have some nice guides to download ISOs, flash them into USB, and use them to install Ubuntu. So if you haven't done this before, there are very nice documents there that will help you get started. Marco, one more thing before we wrap up is about the extensions to GNOME that your team has been researching. Can you tell us something about the poll you did and the things that will come pre-installed, or maybe, I'm not sure if that's decided yet, but what kind of things
that's still there's still some discussion going on for that. As you can see, the Trello board is going to update it, and the big announcement has not been done yet. So we're still researching and trying to understand what's feasible, because it's not just about ship. Apart the fact that GNOME by default doesn't, allows extensions, but it discourages distributions to ship them by default. So there are some talking also with GNOME in order to get this not to be a mess of future. We need to keep things to be clean in terms of infrastructure too, not only to. So we so far we might just ship extensions, but we want to do it the proper way. So there's some talkings related to that too. And yeah, not yet, nothing to announce on there.
Right. I heard. I think it was. I think it was Poppy saying that if you have an extension pre-installed and you disable it, if you have it installed as a dep, and then the dep is upgraded, it will re-enable itself. So it sounds like a lot of work in there too. Lots of things people can help, not just testing. If you want to help with documentation, with translations, with code reporting bugs or fixing them, everything will be very useful here. So any other questions from you, Christian, Sergio?
Let's see. Will there be pre-installed snaps on the default Ubuntu?
Pre-installed stuff in what?
Snaps. Pre-installed snaps.
In the desktop. Well, since we want to ship the first the patching, the kernel patching. So, for example, the Ubuntu kernel patch is Snap. In terms of apps, we're still there's still some progress for getting proper platforms done. So I think we'll keep the dev versions for now. But still doing the work in order to ship snaps.
Yeah, I see a lot of topics about this on the forum. That's forum.snapcraft.io. There are still some corners to polish. Again, a lot of work that people can do if you want to contribute and test that things look properly and everything starts working nice. So anything else you want to mention, Marco, before we wrap up?
I have one more question.
Well, you have a few minutes, Sergio. You have to do it quickly.
Okay. So I have a siren in my head. I have a pen to basically draw on the screen of my installation. And when I was using Wayland, and I didn't notice this until way back, way into it, I was reinstalling stuff, reconfiguring stuff. Then I noticed I remembered I was using Wayland, and my input devices were completely whacked. They weren't like drawing or anything. They were always dragging. And then I switched to X, and everything was like awesome. So what's the story with input and Wayland? Do you know?
I don't really know much about this. I mean, I think that's lots of things to do. So that's why you say, but I don't know if it's related to the fact it's probably using some kind of way different driver which has not been ported to the input or something like that. I don't know now the specifics, and no, I've not been looking much into inputs in these days. So I'm sorry, I can't help much. I think you can speak with to Daniel for this. It's more
okay. So I guess the notes I get out of that is that if you have weird input devices, Wayland is probably not going to solve your problems today.
Well, you should. It just it depends also on the hardware you have. So
it will at some point. It will be ready.
Well, that's why I said today. Well, anyways, that was my question.
It's not that. I'm sorry. Yeah,
can it lock my screen though? Because that's actually the main reason I stopped testing in the Wayland session, because I didn't want to leave my laptop unlocked and it would never actually lock it on the timeout.
Yeah, well, I think that's really the fact that, for example, one decision has been to drop LightDM and using GDM, because for the locking in GNOME shell is done by GDM. So if you don't have GDM, it might not get locked.
So if I switch to GDM, it should work?
Yeah. You didn't the things that if you want to, one thing that has been dropped because of missing a lack of resources, mostly lack of people working on it. It's a fact of supporting LightDM with as a GNOME shell locker. It's something people can do. So if someone wants to spend his time doing it, it's very appreciated. But it's not a small amount of work. So we just decided to go to LightDM for GDM for this reason. Being GNOME shell, also the acting as GDM lock screen.
Sorry. Okay, we have been talking for 30 minutes, but Fridays are testing days here in the Ubuntu community. So join rocket.ubuntu.com or join Ubuntu Devel, Ubuntu Desktop on IRC. Take a look at the forum or the links that Marco pasted here on the chat. And we will be available through the day if you want to help. Well, I think Marco is leaving now, so probably some of his teammates will be around in case you have more questions. Thanks a lot, Marco, for coming. Lots of interesting things happening, and I'm really eager to see this first GNOME official release on October. I'm testing it now. I'm on Artful, updating every day. So that's a really simple way to help. Just use your computer as usual and see what breaks. When something breaks, report it to the developers. Thanks, Sergio, for coming. Thanks, Christian, too. And this is the last testing day of our series talking about the different Ubuntu distros. And we will take a break now and probably discuss what to do next with the space. If you have ideas, also let us know. If you would like to see something covered on this space, we will take a break to reevaluate and start again in a month or so. Next Friday, instead of a testing day, we will have a Snapcraft office hour. We will be talking about Go snaps. So if you want to learn about packaging and if you want to learn about Go, this is a really nice space to come and ask your questions. So see you later. Thanks a lot to everybody who watched.
Yeah.
Cheers.